Good evening, I'm Brian Andrews. A fast-moving fire sweeps through a home in West Little River of Miami-Dade County tonight, sending firefighters inside to rescue one person in search for another. The story's still breaking right now. Let's send you out to David Sutta. He's on the scene. Next up, the power was turned off for several weeks, so the homeowner was using lanterns and candles inside to see, and that may be the cause of another house fire in Miami today. This one happening on Northwest 44th Street and 17th Avenue in the city. 4 firefighters suffered serious burns while battling this one. They were treated at Jackson Memorial Hospital. Inside, they found a variety of candles and lanterns were being used by the 63-year-old resident whose power was shut off about 3 weeks ago. Police forced to fire on a man during a standoff in northeast Miami-Dade. 25-year-old Antonio Cardoza was airlifted to the hospital with a bullet wound. It all started when neighbors called 911 to say there was screaming coming from the house next door.
They heard the windows being smashed out and the subject yelling out to them that if they came any closer, they would be shot.
Police say Cardoza confronted one of the SRT officers who entered the home during the standoff. That's when shots rang out. He is expected to recover. An earthquake off Cuba was felt all the way to the Florida Keys early today. A viewer in Summerlin Key says her home shook for about 10 seconds. There were no reports of any damage in the Florida Keys. The underseas quake hit 6 miles below the surface and registered magnitude 4.7. It was centered just off of Cardenas, Cuba. Now to the search for that jetliner lost at sea. Some debris has been spotted not too far from where those oil slicks were seen in the Gulf of Thailand over the weekend. The latest from CBS 4's Allison Harmelin. Keep up with the latest on the search for that jetliner as it breaks on our website all the time, cbsmiami.com. South Florida, made up of people from so many different nations that diversity was celebrated today on Calle Ocho at the world's largest street party known for its Latin flair. Our resident Peruana Americana, Gabby Fleischman, was there. Gabby? Now to the crisis in Ukraine. President Obama set to meet with Ukraine's prime minister at the White House this week. Today, both pro and anti-Russian factions held rallies in the Crimean Peninsula. More than 30,000 Russian soldiers are already stationed there. Reports say Russian troops have taken over nearly a dozen border checkpoints in Ukraine. Russia's president denies their armed forces are active in the region. The first family is back home in Washington, D.C. after a weekend stay here in our area. The president was in Key Largo, mixing the nation's business with some pleasure in our fabulous weather. The White House putting out this photo of him on the telephone from Key Largo, calling world leaders to discuss what's happening in Ukraine. Before leaving, we're told the president got in another round of golf with former basketball star Alonzo Mourning and sportscaster Ahmad Rashad. Former Republican Governor Charlie Crist, running as a Democrat, had some tough words for the grand old party this weekend. We are 975 days away from the presidential election. New poll numbers from Iowa suggest some of the possible big names on the ballot. The Des Moines Register survey of voters finds Democrat Hillary Clinton and Republican Paul Ryan are on the top of the list of possible contenders. Clinton scored the highest numbers, with half of the adults polled thinking that she should run again. 67% of Republicans think Ryan should run. Today marks 7 years since former CIA operative Robert Levinson disappeared while on a mission in Iran. After the break, we'll be hearing from his family. And it is the latest outlet for spiritual awakening. Find out where millions of people are now going to soothe their bodies and enrich their souls. Get out the oil when the news continues. Good evening, I'm Brian Andrews. A federal court appearance expected in the morning for a key player in a political legal drama here in our area involving a former congressman, a campaign opponent, and questionable political contributions. Ana Allegro was brought back to South Florida from Nicaragua last week. She was taken into custody at a hair salon, a peluqueria, and then taken to the airport in Managua for the flight back home. She's expected in federal court to face charges of campaign finance violations in a scheme tied to her friend, former Congressman David Rivera, who has not been charged. Allegro is accused of helping to finance a bogus candidate, Justin Lamar Sternad, whose only role was to bash Rivera's Democratic foe, current Congressman Joe Garcia. Allegro is facing prison time and major fines if convicted. A South Florida man named Robert Levinson vanished while working for the CIA in Iran years ago. CBS 4's Alexandra Field reports his family is holding out hope that one day he'll be home. Still ahead when the news continues, a daring adventure. Meet the man who took a nosedive from one of the world's tallest mountains. Thanks for watching the Sunday Night News here on CBS 4. Time to go flying. Grab your wingsuit for a trip down Mount Everest. We've got the story from Jonathan Mann.
This is my dream, and I'm willing to risk everything to make it happen.
John, you ever done anything wacky like that?
No.
No?
You know why?
You always play it safe, right?
Yes, and I also have motion sickness. So.
I went bungee cord jumping when I was 19 years old, went off a bridge in Alabama, threw my back out of whack for about 6 weeks. I said, never again.
Never, and that was it.
No. But I would like to know, am I going to want to throw my back out at the beach on a towel because the forecast is going to be great?
Yeah, I think the next couple of days you're going to like it.
Thanks so much, John. The latest outlet for spiritual awakening is the spa. As CBS 4's Lisa Petillo tells us, it's more than just getting a massage and a mani-pedi or a fabulous facial. It is about massaging your soul. And let me give you my one spa recommendation. When you go in, just before you get on the table, think about all the people who you love in your life, and it'll be an even better spa experience. All right. Security around the Boston Marathon will be beefed up more than ever this year, but officials hope the extra precautions won't be taken away from the festivities there. Runners have a new list of rules to follow, which limits the size of water bottles and puts restrictions on what they can wear. There will also be more surveillance along the 26.2-mile route, from hundreds of armed Coast Guard officers to undercover police officers. The 118th Boston Marathon takes place on April the 21st. Last year, twin explosions at the race's finish line killed 3 people and injured more than 260 others. We'll turn to sports next. Good evening, I'm Brian Andrews reporting. Police shot a man who had barricaded himself inside a home in northeast Miami-Dade County. It's a case that's still developing right now. David Sutta is out on the scene. David? New information tonight, an earthquake off Cuba felt all the way to the Florida Keys. A viewer in Summerlin Key says her home shook for about 10 seconds. There were no reports of any damage in the Keys. The undersea earthquake struck 6 miles below the surface. It registered a magnitude 4.7. It was centered just off the coast of Cardenas, Cuba. Elections in El Salvador and Colombia today, political tension in Venezuela, all of it being watched very closely by South Florida's Latino community, which is celebrating its diversity today on Calle Ocho. Our resident Peruana Americana, CBS 4's Gabby Fleischman, is live tonight at that giant multicultural street fair. Gabby? Technology giving a whole new meaning to the term cookie cutting. It's an Oreo trending vending machine powered by Twitter. It allows people to create custom Oreo cookies. Users choose from 12 flavors and colors of the cream. Using 3D technology, the machine then assembles a unique Oreo in under 2 minutes. Delicious. The news will be right back. That is an abbreviated version of our news. For more, you can find us online at cbsmiami.com and on the radio with our partners at 610 and 100.3 WIOD. If you see news, send it to us. The address is pics@cbsmiami.com. We like it when you use your cell phone horizontally, not vertically. I'm Brian Andrews in the studio. Join me tonight at 11 o'clock for an update on South Florida's top stories. We send you off into the evening right now with a gorgeous shot of a sunset over the Everglades from our studio camera here in Doral. Make it a great evening.